Good afternoon. I'm Jeanette Lenoir with ePluribusAmerica here with another edition of EPA Live. And today I have a very special guest, Princess Philomena Desmond-Ogugua. And she is an international development professional with expertise in promoting U.S. Africa trade and investment. She's also the chair of the Virginia African Diaspora Caucus and so much more. Princess Philomena, the list of your accomplishments are so long, it would take me about an hour to read them all because you've been incredibly active, very busy, working on our behalf. So, with what I've just presented, if you could take it away, welcome. It is an honor to have you. Thank you for being here. And tell us a little bit about yourself and your work for, mankind and especially women
Thank you
and
very much.
African women.
Thank you very much, Black woman. Thank you very much. You have already said
Black
my name.
women, yes.
You have already said my name. I'm a Nigerian American, naturalized American by way of Nigeria, from southeastern part of Nigeria, Imo State to be precisely, and my town is in Bise in Imo State. I came here to go to school after undergraduate and graduate studies. Most of us, when we come, we say we are going to go back. But because of situations at home, we found our new home, America, you know. And America is the best place to be
Yeah.
because it's a comfort zone for all immigrants because it's America and God we trust was
So
created
there's
by immigrants. And I'm one of them. Thank you.
Yeah. And, the topic of immigration was very prominent in this presidential campaign and the outcome of the election. And so we're here to talk about, what happened for the Democratic Party, your thoughts and feelings about the results of the Democratic laws, and also what you think it means for the country and where we're going. So, since we started talking about action, you were pretty serious about it. I mean, you were actually part of a press conference from I believe, the Haitian Caucus news conference on September 20th. With you guys stood out there and made yourself clear. So I actually have a video of it. Do you want to talk about it, and we'll play the video?
All right. I will. Uh, the election has come and gone. You win some, you lose some.
Hmm.
And this is one of the elections that the outcome is not what the Democratic Party expected. I think this is a time for reflection for those who won and those who lost. Because those who won will come on the table. What did we do wrong the last time people didn't like and called us bad name? Can we improve on do things that will be mainstream, that will surprise people? For those Democratic Party that lost, it is time to go back to the table. That what they are preaching is not what the mainstream America wants to hear right now in 2024. The mainstream America
Hmm.
are afraid of losing their job, losing their health care, losing their Medicare, losing their Social Security, uh, also security in the schools, security at home. They are afraid of what is being taught to children in school. I remember when I heard, it was just recently I heard that they are teaching young children about gender, he, she. I said, what? Somebody told me that a
Hmm.
child son came back from school and said, Mom, what gender am I? I said, why should they do that? It's brainwashing little kids. I didn't know. No matter, I'm sure some Democrats don't like it. I'm sure. We shouldn't, the Democrats should go back to the table and,
Yeah. These types of
pardon?
mhm.
They should
No, go ahead.
re-strategize. They should re-strategize the the information
Hmm.
they give to the public. One, I'm not against LGBT or abortion because those things are private issues between whoever is doing it and his or her
Yeah.
God. I don't think it should be a campaign issue.
Hmm.
People are not comfortable with it. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was. But this time, we are in artificial intelligence era. Things have changed. We have a lot of Gen Zs and Gen X and Gen Y, all of them, that are not thinking the way we ourselves thought when we were their age. So they're not interested in that kind of message. I think, yes, LGBT, this they use it when it worked, but this time they should strategize. The Republicans have LGBT caucus, but they don't bring it out to the out open. So most people think that the don't Republican Party does not have LGBT, or they have them, but they don't wear it on their sleeve. It's not their main focus. They're talking about what is really hot in America right now,
Yeah.
and people listen. And the Democrats should go back and see, find out, like what they say in Africa, use their tongue to count their teeth and know where they went wrong. It is now an
Yeah.
exclusive party. It's not inclusive anymore. It's like a private club. And the, the,
Yeah.
the, the mainstream stream America that was their bedrock, they are losing them. The middle class, I think they have lost them. So they have to go
Hmm.
back. I was talking to somebody. Somebody told me that before, the values and ideas of Democratic Party now was the value and ideas of the Republican Party before. And Democrats were like Republicans. That's why they call, there are some African Americans that are still Republicans, thinking is a party of Abraham
Hmm.
Lincoln. Maybe things are going to switch again. The Democrats will now become Republicans, Republicans will become Democrats. I don't know. Tomorrow is pregnant. I don't know what it will deliver. Time will tell.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the identity politics, including a lot of these culture wars, were some mainstreams in Kamala Harris's campaign. So I hear what you're saying about focusing on those issues rather than the economic hardships that a lot of Americans are still facing. So, um, but to go back, the issue of immigration was also a hot topic, and so I just wanted to hear you. Hear you talk about it.
And our final speaker will be Princess Philomena Desmond, Chair of the Virginia African Diaspora Caucus.
It's now afternoon. Good afternoon. I say thank you to Congresswoman Sheila Cephalus McCormick, the entire congressmen and women here this afternoon in what they believe in, which is inhumanity to man. As an African diaspora, anyway, my name is Princess Philomena Desmond-Ogugua. So are Haitians. There is a saying in Africa, when the nose is crying, the eye is crying. The Haitians are crying, all African immigrants, diaspora, we are crying with them. They have contributed so much in the economic development of this country, both in education, democracy, health, governance, in the creative industry. Without the diaspora community, the immigrant community, all your health system, all the health system in America will be closed. Because there are the people now, doctors, nurses, there will be no nursing homes. Maybe Trump will get his family to go and look at the old people. We are contributing, they are paying their taxes, they are hardworking. Most of them have 3 jobs and going to school and sending money home. They are paying their taxes. This place is a country of immigrants. Trump himself, he is not even American.
So you were pretty heated there. This was a very important issue for you. Can you talk a little bit about that? And if you think, working with the Democrats, which you work closely with, um, do you think that was an important issue to hit him on? And do you think it matters now that we're looking back and analyzing the strategy? So, what were your thoughts on this day and during this event when it came to the immigration issue?
As an immigrant, especially when Haiti was attacked
Hmm.
by not physical attack, verbal attack in Ohio, Springfield, that they eat cat and dog.
Yeah,
It affects all immigrants.
yeah,
There are blacks like me, and most Haitians came by way of Nigeria, during the early dragging people from Africa, not by choice, to this side. Um,
hmm,
when they said that they are eating cat and dog, I couldn't believe it until I said, "How can?" And this is putting fear into people. Maybe they're not. I'm sure they're not eating any cat and dog. That was used. America is a country that listen to news, and if you tell them anything that will make them afraid, make them not to be safe in their homes, they will buy it. They won't ask. They won't go and investigate. That put fear into them. I was wondering, maybe the next time it should be my neighborhood, and my neighbors might be looking at me weird. That maybe in our house also we are eating cat and dog. Uh, I think somebody
yeah,
generated that thing to put fear into the population,
yeah,
so that they will swear the vote to the side they want it to
hmm,
be. Because they would like to elect somebody who will see to it that people don't eat cat and dog. You know, it was. I know that thing was not a fact. It was a made-up story. But it is not
yeah.
good
Do you
to
think it was?
dehumanize a
Do you
human
think it
being.
was? Do you think it was effective in driving people to vote for Trump, especially with all the talk about immigrants? I mean, the issue of immigration also hit the black community hard. They also protested and they were against, you know, migrants, illegal migrants coming over and taking over cities like Chicago, New York City, and so forth. And there's some serious issues concerning migrants being protected and taken care of. Americans felt shafted. So that the immigration issue played a vital role. Looking back, do you think it was fair for the Trump administration to use that as a failure on the Democrats' side? And your thoughts in general on what Americans thought about the immigration issue when it comes to the polling. Polling did show that immigration was a hot topic issue for them in this election.
Immigration is a hot topic in the United States right now because of the border issue. Any
Yeah.
person, because of the way it's portrayed, that there are criminals, there are rapists, there are this. Anybody will be worried if anybody would be worried if they are let in thousands every day. Uh, it's an issue that both the Democrats and the Republicans should come to the table and find a way,
Yeah.
enact, enact laws that will be, reform the immigration laws so that it can be accommodative. Not everybody that comes through the border is a criminal, although some criminals might come in, but
Hmm.
not everybody is a criminal. And in case of this hate eating dog and cats, it is to put fear into people. And it was started in a state also that is favored to be Republican, Ohio. I'm sure people will be afraid, thinking, oh, after eating cat now, maybe they'll start eating people. The mind is a crazy thing. So I don't think it was good to use it for campaign, during election, for campaign, to swear votes. But anybody who wanted to vote for the Republicans, I don't think eating dog
Hmm.
and cat will make them to change their mind or not to vote, you know, because
Yeah.
that they know that is a campaign gimmick, you know. So any educated person, whether the person is a Republican or a Democrat, will say, "Wow, this is a very off off balance campaign gimmick. It's not real. How are they going to? Are they catching the cat on the road and nobody's seeing them and catching the dog? When they are
Yeah, that
catching the
was pretty.
huh?
Uh, uh, that was pretty interesting. But the people from Ohio, I believe, they came out and defended a lot of. They defended the Haitians. Even business owners raved about what amazing workers they were. And they were really supporting the local economy.
Mm,
So it kind of some people um, it wasn't successful in turning some people against Haitians, but it did have an impact about the larger immigration issue and
mm,
kind of bunching everyone together. Just like you said, not everyone who comes across the border is a criminal, and also the root cause of that is really the issue we should be talking about, because there's a reason why migrants and desperate people are coming across the borders. Our
mm,
role in manufacturing the suffering around the world, you know, matters in how it all shows up and manifests. So
mm.
there's blame to be had on all sides. We did talk a little bit about this, but I also wanted to ask you to expand. Do you think Democrats were too obsessed with the culture war? And do you think that that had something to do with uh, losing this election? And they
Oh,
lost pretty badly.
yes. Is it too obsessed with what? Can you repeat? Too obsessed with what?
Culture,
Culture?
culture wars,
Oh, yes,
wars.
yes.
Yeah,
I think they were obsessed with so many things, and they lost both the
yeah.
popular vote and the electoral vote. If you check 18 million people that voted for Biden 2020, they didn't vote this time. Why did they stay home? Why? They should
Yeah.
ask. They lost heavily this time around. One,
Hmm.
they were, they were too much into Zoom. They were too much into Facebook. They weren't reaching the people. Not every person
Yeah.
sees the Facebook or goes to Zoom. I didn't see anybody knock on my door all the campaign, but Republicans knocked
Hmm.
on my door. And one time I asked somebody, "Wow, so the Republicans, where are they campaigning? They are not in Facebook. They every Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. It was too much. Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. It was too much. They weren't reaching the people.
Hmm.
They were in the mode of 2020 campaign when we had COVID. It worked that time. This time it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are some other folks that jumped in on this question of why the Democrats lost, why Kamala Harris, a historic candidate, why did she lose, and also did she lose the momentum of the moment where America is so almost desperate to have a she's lost or the country has lost the momentum to chase that, that Kodak moment or that notch in history.
Mhm. Uh, the momentum was there. I would say that she gave a very big, good fight, a strong fight, with only 125 days to campaign.
Mhm.
She did her best, but her best wasn't good enough for the population that voted, but she did her best. She
Yeah.
tried. What I think the bottom line is not even that she's black or red, she's a woman. America
Hmm.
is a male dominated country. They are not ready for a woman president, whether the woman is white, red, blue, black, mixture, sandy,
Hmm.
any. The time has not come yet. They're not ready.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah. So you think that played a role in the outcome too?
yes, that
I
she's
see.
a woman. Yes,
What are
she's
your
a,
thoughts about the fact that the Obamas and others criticized black men for not wholeheartedly supporting Kamala Harris? What are your
uh,
thoughts on that? Do you think that criticism was and do you think it impacted the campaign?
uh, Obama. I don't think it was a criticism. It was like telling them to come out and vote. Telling them the reality. I
Mhm.
don't think he was criticizing them, but maybe that helped to. People thought that they won't come out again, but if you look at the percentage, they really came out. The people I know that nobody thought is the Gen Zs and the Gen whatever the X. I have a lady told me
Mhm.
yes. A lady told me yesterday that she has 4 kids. This lady, the father is 96, 96. She's African American. Her father
Mhm.
is a lifelong Republican, the Lincoln Republicans, they call themselves, right?
Mhm.
But to her surprise, two
Yeah.
of two of her kids voted for Kamala. She has 3 boys and 1 girl. 2 boys voted for Kamala. A boy and a girl
Mhm.
voted for Donald Trump. Things are changing now. People are looking at how is it going to benefit me, this and that. Like in the African diaspora community, what they don't know that Africans are very conservative. A lot of things Democrats preach on is not in our culture and in our Christian belief in Africa.
Mhm.
Some of them also voted the other side. Some voted the other side.
Yeah.
Those that voted for Trump voted because of the LGBT, abortion, and the gender issue. That's it. Period. The African diaspora, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's what some of the numbers and the data is showing too. Let's listen to some more analysis, which I thought were very interesting. Maybe there's that's you, and this. I'd like to listen to him. This is
Yes.
uh, chairman. He is chairman Omali Yeshitali, and he's the head of the Uhuru African People's Socialist Party and the
Very,
Uhuru movement. So,
very
he
good.
had a message. Um, this is what he posted on Zoom. So I'll play a little bit of it because it was really his message to black folks about what it means that Trump won and what it could mean to them, to black people. So let's take a listen, and then we can talk about it.
Where is he from?
Who are proclaiming that the
He's an
election of
American.
Donald Trump means doom for African people. And we say that's true, that the election of Donald Trump means doom to African people, just like the election of Joe Biden meant doom to African people. And of all of the colonizers that have had come before them, it's doomed to African people based on our lack of organization and our willingness and ability to take responsibility for our own future. But we're not afraid. Some years ago, the African People's Socialist Party.
So you hear what he talks about. He really says there's nothing really changes. Everything changes, but nothing really changes, especially for people of African descent. And Trump is back in office, but he's saying it won't. It doesn't make a difference. What are your thoughts about that? Because he went deeper and he says really about colonialism. Um, at least that's the foundation of all of this. And he talked about people of African descent organizing. What are your thoughts on that and his message to black people?
Uh, like he's mentioned that nothing has changed. I think he's correct. Nothing has changed. Is it, for me is for black people. Personally, I don't believe in putting all your eggs in one basket because when they break, they all break. And all of us shouldn't be Republicans. All of us shouldn't be Democrats. Ideology differs. The only difference is that if you are black, you're a Republican, you are hated. Oh, you are not in a political party, but you don't know why that person is a Republican. You know. So the only thing is that
Hmm.
there should be fairness. And to me, nothing has changed. It's the same America
Yeah,
that 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 is there. Nothing has changed. Maybe the way of implementing those things that has changed. But if you look at it, nothing has changed. You know, at all. The only
yeah,
thing that blacks are,
exactly, exactly.
huh?
Yeah, there's I agree too. Nothing's changed. I think we're seeing we're seeing it all play out. Really, the world is a stage. We're watching colonialism manifest itself in different forms.
Yes. It's
I
just,
believe the chairman is absolutely right that this is a form of colonialism and that it never really ended. And so we have to organize. But I agree with you too, Princess Philomena, when you said we should all organize as human beings, not just necessarily as African people or Black people. We should reach across the aisle and come together as people against those who want to dominate us and take over the world, and not share our world equally and freely. So I understand and I agree with the larger issue here. Um, so that was his warning for black people, and then there were some other ones. Let's see.
The working class has had its revenge. It has looked at the political parties, Republican and Democrat, and by here I mean the Republican Party of the likes of George Bush and the Democratic Party, the likes of Clinton, Obama, and now uh, Biden, and they have said to them, here, let me show you my middle finger, because what you have done to me, I am now going to do to your political representatives because I can't do it to you. I can't get at you. At least I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So I am going to punish your political spokespeople, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bidens, and maybe I should add now, the Harrises. That's what we see here. Voting them out. Is that because they like Mr. Trump? Not at all. He is a symbol. Most of the people who voted for him wouldn't like him, wouldn't want to have anything to do with him, are in fact sympathetic to a number of the issues where he is on the wrong side for the vast majority of Americans, like abortion, for example, and other issues as well. But that was overwhelmed by what is overwhelming them, and that is the end of the so called American dream. It's completely out of their reach, and it is not going to happen to their children either. And they know it, and they're angry. And Mr. Trump says, I agree with you, you have been shafted, but I'm going to undo all of that. I'm going to go backwards and make America great again to what it was before these last 40 years really wrecked you. Now, there is no chance that he can do that. As far as I can see, he has as much chance as you do, Nima.
So, as you there, Professor Wolf, he's an economist. Uh, you heard what he says. What are your thoughts on his analysis that really the voters wanted to punish the Democratic Party for not listening to them, for not paying attention to the issues that they wanted them to pay to address, like our economic issues, um, the working man shafted left and right. The poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer right in front of our eyes. And so, what are your thoughts on what Mr. Wolf said there about voters wanting to punish the Democratic Party?
So does it mean he thinks this election was a protest vote? I wouldn't say punish, protest. They are protesting
It
to the
sounds like it.
Democratic Party. For them to think
Hmm.
twice, go back to the drawing table to see what we have done to disappoint our base. That the Republicans
Hmm.
have eroded and gained our base. If you look at the map of United States, all of them is turning red. All the states. It used to be all blue, now it's all red. So the Democrats, one, have to retire, I say retire, some of these, will I call it in quotes, both men and women. They are talking heads, they are leaders, you know, that have been there
Hmm.
all the time and nothing has changed since they have been there. Get young, pragmatic people that will bring them to the center. They are too far, will I call it right, on some issues that they waste a lot of time debating on that issue, talking on those issues that won't bring food on the table for the regular American. I think it's a protest vote. I agree. I agree with Professor Wolf because most people that voted when the exit poll they say, oh, they are not
Yeah,
now. They have left the mainstream. What they are talking is too abstract.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with
And
him.
then there are some more. There were even more. Yeah, I agreed with him too. I thought that, and even when he talked about the American dream, and how Americans feel like it's unreachable these days, not just for themselves, but even for their children. That's a
Mhm.
pretty bleak outlook on America, and to kind of continue to keep building into the system and embracing who we are and what we're doing and where we stand. it's pretty disheartening. It makes you really wonder where our leaders are leading us, and but it's also an interesting way of seeing how the public reacts to our system of governance and what we are doing. And so I think, although the Democrats didn't win, um, I think that perhaps that's exactly what needed to happen uh, for the country to get back on a better track. That's and the people spoke. I think I believe Trump won uh, I think the popular vote by 5 million. So the people spoke, and it's very hard to deny that. But you can also see that it's a healthy democracy still. you know, uh, Relatively. But I wanted, there was another. He said something too.
Of the few elections where it was a win-win for both parties. Each party got what they wanted. The Republicans won overwhelmingly, and as Richard pointed out, I think the Democrats only won 35 counties in the entire country. It was a total wipeout with Republican red on all of the, the maps. But also got their choice. They chose the same what they made 8 years ago in 2016 when they backed Hillary. They would rather lose with Hillary than win with Bernie or a pro labor policy. This time around, they lost by appointing Kamala Harris instead of risking a primary that who knows, someone like Bernie might have won. They're not going to take any chance at all of there being any Democratic Party that Richard has been talking about. So they've locked in their control of the pro Wall Street neocon wing, in control of the Democratic National Committee that controls the Democratic Party, and even Bernie Sanders, in the wreckage of the election, spoke out over what has to be 8 years of utter frustration. He wrote on X, it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class has abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want to change, and they're right. Well, Harris kept repeating these words again and again, right down to her concession speech. Dream, aspiration, and ambition of the American people. Not a word about economic policy, just platitudes. And I think that finally led the Americans to voters to get absolutely disgusted at the refusal to talk about economic policy.
What are your thoughts on his analysis that the Democratic Party has really abandoned the working class people, which is what Bernie said? So, what are your thoughts on his analysis? What Bernie says about the Democratic Party abandoning the working class people, and people basically being disgusted with the status quo and the way the Democrats have been leading these past years.
I agree with him. What his analysis? Like I didn't even know he said it when I told you that they have abandoned the working class, which is their bedrock, because the
Yeah.
issues they discuss has no bearing to the needs of the working class. You go to campaign, they are not discussing about issues for the normal working class with 4 or 5 children that have to pay mortgage, pay insurance, pay this, do this, and they're not realistic anymore to the working class.
Hmm.
Like I told you, that's why they should talk about issues that affect
Yeah.
the normal Mr. Doe, period. Not not abstract issues. They should
Yeah.
address issues that put food on the table, make students pay off their student loan, and create jobs. How are we going to maintain jobs and manufacturing in the
Mhm.
United States that creates jobs? How are we going to tackle the border issues?
Yeah.
They never discuss
The
all that.
internet is a little sketchy.
There is a total disconnect.
One of the other criticisms that um, I also heard about was about Kamala Harris being really a cop. So let's listen to this analysis from Dan Norton, who's oh wait, who had
Why did Kamala Harris lose so badly? To understand this, we need to go back to 2019 when Kamala Harris became a national figure in the US for the first time. She announced that she was going to run for president, and she was one of a dozen contenders in the Democratic primary. And in November 2009, a poll found that she had 1% support among the Democratic electorate. 1%. Harris was so unpopular that she actually withdrew from the race before the Democratic primary officially even began in 2020. And one of the main reasons is that Harris didn't really offer anything, and no one really knew where she stood politically, because Kamala Harris had made her name in California as the attorney general with a tough on crime agenda. She had proudly referred to herself as California's top cop. She threw poor parents in jail. Their children didn't go to school. And yet, in 2019, in the lead up to the 2020 election, she suddenly portrayed herself as a progressive, going against her entire political career. Now, let's not forget the historical context here. In the 2016 and 2020 primaries in the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders was very popular. And in fact, in 2017, a poll found that Bernie Sanders was the single most popular politician in the United States. And of course, he was running on a very progressive agenda, but especially focusing on economic issues, challenging the billionaire oligarchs that dominate US politics. He wanted to get money out of politics. He wanted to serve working people in the country and not billionaire elites. He promised higher education. Candidates in the Democratic Party were trying to steal some of that thunder and portray themselves as progressives, despite the fact that for many years they had been very right-wing Democrats. Kamala Harris is an example of this.
What do you think about that criticism? Do you think that Kamala Harris portrays herself as a Democrat, but she's really, uh, more right leaning, just as Dan Norton accused her of, and really being a top cop? Do you think that played a role in the outcome of the election? Do you agree with his assessment, or do you take issue with it? And if you do take issue with it, what issues do you take with this assessment of Kamala Harris?
Yeah, Kamala Harris, when she was Attorney General in California, was a top cop, hard on criminals, hard on that, 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 that. I think she would have used that to campaign on a national level. Where she was
Hmm.
regional, and not many people knew her.
Yeah.
And not many people knew her until she came to run as a presidential candidate in 2020. So I
Yeah.
think she should have continued the way she was, not tilting towards going to be Madam Nice Woman. No, she could have been in the where the center where she was, but she did her best. This is not the time to blame or not to blame. You know, she followed the party directives. How the party wants the election to be run, just like Trump running the way she runs the party that because Trump, before she became a Democrat, a Republican to run, was a Democrat. So he still has some democratic values in him, but the party wanted him. This is the way we want to go. So
Yeah.
uh, the blame shouldn't be on her. She did her best.
Yeah. But what are your thoughts about what he said about Bernie being the more popular option for voters, but yet the Democratic Party choosing Kamala Harris, who only got 1% um, in 2020? So, what do you think about how the Democratic Party has treated Bernie, and where does he fit into all of this? Um,
But
and also where does he fit into this moment?
but Bernie, I don't know whether he's a Democrat or independent. He's Democrat when it suits him. He's independent when it doesn't suit him. So I can't even describe him. You know, I don't know what political party he belongs to now. I know he can never be a
Hmm.
Republican, but he's independent today. He's a Democratic tomorrow. You know, he's being popular. He's popular among progressive, not among moderate and
Hmm.
conservatives. Yes, maybe the polling he did was among progressive. I won't tell me he polled any conservative or moderate Democrat or anybody that will vote for Bernie, no? Because yes, he focused on domestic
Yeah.
issues, but some of them were too far, far, far to the distance to be achievable. You know,
Yeah. He also hit a little bit about how the party has changed. And you kind of alluded to that earlier, where you mentioned that the Democratic Party has really become this elite club.
yes,
So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think he's right that the Democratic Party has changed, but not necessarily for the better?
I hope the Democratic Party has changed to elite, while the Republican Party are embracing the masses. It's twisting. Yes,
Mm.
it has really changed that it's not the Democratic Party when Clinton was there, when people were rewarded for the efforts, when people were called and said, thank you for this and that. It's even difficult to talk to anybody. It's difficult to talk to a personal assistant to somebody in the Democratic Party. It has really changed. It's become a club of those who
Yeah,
know each other. It's a clique.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Uh, One of the things we didn't talk about, and I'll read this really quickly. But obviously, they played a huge part in this election. We've been witnessing a terrible, mass murder that many are calling a genocide in Gaza, and also now it's spread into Lebanon. So the Middle East is not doing well. So let me read this for you, so I can just get your input on it. It was legitimate that really punished Kamala Harris for her stance on what's happening in Gaza. Nearly 70% of deaths in Gaza are women and children, according to August, a day, a 10-year-old woman. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you hope that, this country, you know, do in this moment?
You know,
Um, but what do you think about these
I
figures?
I think also what is happening in Gaza contributed on the election because
Yeah.
a lot of children, mothers, family killed.
Hmm.
It's very sad. It's very, very sad what is happening in Gaza. They
Yeah.
might say they're Muslims, but like in Dearborn, Michigan, you know, they came out. These are people that vote Democratic, but they came out in mass to vote against the Democratic Party because, and if
Yeah.
Republicans were in power and this happened, they will vote against Republicans. So it's not it's the party they are voting against. It's not Kamala. If it was Trump that was the
Mhm.
president and Gaza was happening, I'm sure the same thing would have happened. You know, but what people don't know is all these things. From what we read, who created Hamas? Who created Hamas? And who funds Hamas? And this thing issue on Hamas and Israel is is coming to play like in '76 during Carter election re-election
Mhm.
when they were holding hostages in Iran. They held that hostage
Uh-huh.
as a as a tool for the for election. How come the hostages were released the morning of the election after the election?
Yeah.
I think this also Gaza issue was started to destabilize the election. And you will see immediately now the Gaza issue will stop. Everything the
Yeah.
human beings are used as toy by political leaders, and it's very very sad.
Speaking of our foreign relations, what are your thoughts on where we go from here, as far as international relations are concerned, with the other side to ensure that we don't find ourselves in endless wars, and that we really find a solution from what's happening in Gaza. Um, what are your thoughts on our foreign relations
Is it
and what should change?
Trump administration? Is it Trump administration?
Yes. What do you think they should do?
I think
Yes.
I think they should call the two warring groups to the table, and
Hmm.
this should not be political issue. Should be humanitarian, human conscience issue. And in that meeting, it's not
Hmm.
only Republicans, Democrats, religious leaders, and civic leaders should be there to find
Hmm.
a way of resolving this Gaza issue because people are dying. It is very, very pathetic. Very, very. I don't know how somebody
Um,
can wake up in the morning and start. I can't. I don't understand. It's on both sides. You know,
it's
the
terrible.
it's on both
Yeah.
sides. The Hamas people are killing the Israelis. The Israelis are killing. It's on both sides.
But of late, I mean, since October 7th, it's been pretty one sided. Yes, Hamas did attack on October 7th, but what's been happening has been a full on slaughter of women and children. I mean,
Yes.
just reading these numbers that nearly 70%, that's are nearing 50,000. And that's
Oh
just
my
what,
God.
those are just preliminary basic numbers. They could be much higher than that. But to think that 70% of these deaths are women and children, and 44% of that are children. Um, these are not military men fighting military men. This is not a proportionate war. You can't fight babies with bombs. And
No, no,
if
no,
this is a
no.
war, uh, it's completely disproportionate. And of course, it would impact the outcome of this election when it comes to who's in charge and under whose watch did this happen. The president could have asked for a ceasefire a long time ago, but they've assisted. What are your thoughts on our role in all of this? Certainly, this came Go on.
Uh, that another thing you brought it out. Most people don't know that in Gaza, 44, 40, about 45 or 40 something percent of the population are Christians. Christians are dying also. They think it's only Muslims. No,
Yeah.
Christians are dying. Uh, it is, I don't know,
Mhm.
it's a big job for Trump, honestly, how he's going to tackle this. But what will make it easier is because he's good friends with Netanyahu. Maybe Netanyahu will listen to him for once because Netanyahu loves
Yeah.
war.
Yeah.
If you, if you check the statistics, anytime he's prime minister of Israel, there is a war.
Absolutely.
He must love war or he's making money out of the war. I don't know. You know,
No, they all are. I'm sure they all are.
it's
I'm
ridiculous.
so glad you brought up, religion because you serve as an advisor. You're on the advisor member at the BPUR, which is the BPUR International, a global campaign to enact an international treaty to ban the political abuse of religion. When I
Yeah,
was reading that about you and your work, I was so impressed and so happy that there is such a campaign. There
yeah,
is such work underway to a thing to really point out that religion plays a role in man's wrongdoing on earth and towards each other. The Bible has been weaponized. Religion has been weaponized, and so I'm so honored and proud that you're working on these efforts. Serious issue. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about your work and what you hope comes out of it?
this is an association formed by an Iraqi in London. Uh, what we
Hmm.
do is meeting elected officials so that they can enact laws in their respective countries so that uh, politics is different. You can't bring politics and religion
Hmm.
together to cause problem because
Yeah.
for instance in Nigeria, that's what they're using, Muslims and this and that for politics. They shouldn't. You shouldn't mix
Hmm.
religion and politics. It's not healthy. And that's what fuels the killing of people, especially in Muslim dominated countries, you know. So the
Hmm.
use of religion should be taken entirely out of politics. What we are trying to do is to push it so that it will be laws. We're trying to push it up to United Nations so that there should be laws enacted in different
Yeah.
legislators worldwide so that those two don't mix. That is what is
I
causing
see.
most of the world problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think religion is a root of a lot of our problems. I wanted to play this video before we go to the question of the day and our show. I wanted to play a little video of you because you're not new to this. You've been a soldier in the fight for a long time, and so I wanted to do a little throwback of you in action. There you
Oh
are.
my, oh my God. Where,
But what you said,
where
what
did
you
you get,
say here, though, Princess.
where did you get all
Oh,
these people?
I always look. That's part of how I show my respect. If I'm going to interview you, I want to get to know you. So it's of course I'm going to look into the things you've got. And so I saw this, and I'm like, oh, I love this because it still matters. I think you talk about the misconception of African women, of Black women. And so as we look at how we are growing as a society and evolving as a society, we're still struggling to fit into a mainstream society and have roles beyond what they think fits our stereotype, or not be offended by Black excellence. Just like, we normally accept American exceptionalism, But in any event, let's hear what you have to say here.
When they think of African women, they think that all of us are selling tie and dye, jewelry, that. But they are top business women,
Yep.
both in academia, in governance, and in business.
Right.
In Africa, that's
Right.
you need to form linkages. There should be synergy
Right.
between the two continents, transatlantic synergy. That's what we are building on Obama's 2014 leadership summit.
Right.
Because that one was all about men and this, although a few women were there, a few women presidents.
Right.
But this is now we want to focus on women and how we can sustain the Millennium Development Goals.
Beautiful.
And how, because women are the salt of the society.
Okay.
How policy,
Right.
politics, legislative issues,
Right.
in both Africa, in the continent and in the country of the United States.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts. This does it still matter? Where have do you think this work is bearing fruit? Have you seen some of the results of your work play itself out? You know, what do you think about when you look at that and how far you gone?
Uh, I think since this was in African Horror, was this? I don't know where this was. Whether it's at World Bank, I can't understand. The years. I think things Rome was not built in a day. Things are gradual. I think
Hmm.
women are going. You see women now in governance more. All right. Look at the Senate. Senate. The last time we had
Hmm.
a black woman senator was Carol Mosley Brown, right, of Chicago. And on Tuesday, two were elected.
Yeah.
One in Delaware, one from Maryland.
Uh,
That's a progress there. And in Nigeria now, all the big banks are headed by women. They're up to 8, which was unheard of before. We what we haven't done in Nigeria to elect a woman governor. We have women senators and judges of the Supreme Court and all that. Uh, is gradual, but it's not as fast as we expect it to
yeah.
be. That's it. We are moving on there. It can be better, but Rome was not
Yeah.
built in it.
So the work is ongoing.
Yes, there was a time women were not allowed to vote,
Yeah.
right? Uh, so,
Yeah,
so we are
that's right. And
we
that
are
was only
trying.
100 years ago. You know,
Yes, yes,
a
we are
little over
trying.
100 years ago. So yeah, we've come a long way. We've certainly come a long way. All right, so now we've reached the segment where we have a question of the day. And so I'm going to play a little video for you. Okay, not to make light of the situation, but I'm not sure if you've heard of this particular story. It's actually a sad story, but it's an interesting story that I think is a nice. This is not a nice. It's a distraction from our political mind. So let me get to it. Okay, so question of the day is: was it government overreach in the tragic case of Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon? So watch the video, and you'll hear what happened to Peanut and Fred.
Sure you know about this tragic, tragic story about Peanut the squirrel, as well as his friend Fred the raccoon, both of them taken and euthanized by New York State DEC, or Department of Environmental Conservation agents. They executed a search in New York. They took Peanut informed before they were. And the dad went on to say that they basically stormed onto the property, more than a half a dozen agents, and they were armed with their search warrant, executed the search warrant, and they were put in tough conditions, they say, as they were not allowed to go into the house, that dad had to ask to go to the bathroom, and that he had to be escorted to use his own bathroom. And then they couldn't feed the other animals at the farm, breakfast or lunch, because of what was going on with the DEC agents. And also reportedly, one of the agents asked his wife if she was from this country or not.
So, as you can see, a lot happened in upstate New York, in Elmira, New York. The DEC, New York State DEC, came in because apparently somebody complained about the squirrel. Mind you, this man has had the squirrel for 7 years. This family
Mm-hmm.
has had the squirrel, which they saved. They
Just
saved the
said, yeah.
squirrel. A car hit the squirrel's
Mm-hmm.
mother, so it was a baby. So 7 years, the squirrel has been with this family, and so eventually the squirrel developed a online following. Very famous squirrel, if not the most famous squirrel on social media. Well, they used the money to open a sanctuary for other animals who needed help. So he was really the star of this sanctuary for animals.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, somebody was jealous of Peanut's fame and called and complained to the DEC. And so the DEC burst into this man's house, treated them like criminals. If you hear the story, how he explains it, and
Mm-hmm.
and and took both animals, the raccoon that they had also adopted, and the
Mm-hmm.
squirrel, this famous squirrel, and euthanized within a
Ooh.
day. They didn't even put them in quarantine. They just killed them the very next day, and didn't even call them to let them know that these animals that they've cared for years, and have really, that's part of their bread and butter too. Anyways, it sparked outrage. There's now petitions for accountability from the DEC. They even want Governor Hochul to chime in and address the issue. Some are even going as far as saying that it played a role in Trump winning the election. So the question is, number one, do you think that this was a government overreach? And do you think that it played a role in Trump winning the election?
Mhm. I
Peanut the
don't,
squirrel.
I don't, I don't think it's a government overreach. I read it. I said, wow, they could have investigated. When they took the squirrel, they could have tested the squirrel for rabies. The test was not done, and they euthanized the poor animal, defenseless, you know, and have put the owners in shock that will take maybe years
Yes.
or months to. I don't think it has anything to do with election, does it? Do people think that it affected the result of the election? Then these are weird thinking people. I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. People will go and vote for Trump because of squirrel. you know. So I read it. I felt so sorry for the squirrel and the owner. And I think the owner should take the New York State to court. They should sue for damages. America is a land that lies court system. You should get redress from the court system. Yes.
Yes. I fully agree. And I think he is planning on taking, DEC to court. He is planning a lawsuit. There's a petition out calling for accountability. And they want to know whose decision. And apparently, four judges signed off on this warrant. They just had a warrant and burst into this house. And but one of the reasons why people were talking so much about it as part of the campaign was how the government under this administration has been given more power
Mm,
to come into people's homes. But then the other side too, Trump has, supports immunity for police officers. So you know, it's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the squirrel turned into a mega squirrel issue. But yeah, he's planning. Well, Princess Philomena, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to note? Any last thoughts? Any last feelings about the outcome? And thoughts about the future of this country, and the future of our foreign relations, and our relationship with the global community.
Uh, I think the election has been lost and won. The people have spoken. America is a country that is always unified. Trump will be the president of United States for 4 years. We wish him well to succeed and look into the affairs of the people that voted him. The masses voted him in because he will look into what they complained about. And as an immigrant, I'm saying, please, they shouldn't go on a spree of deporting people because there are a lot of immigrants here, doctors, lawyers, healthcare, everything that are here helping the system. Not all of them are illegal, and not
Yeah,
all of them are criminals. It is one case per case. Look into it. And also, I will advise
yeah.
the African American community, those that are in the Democratic Party, be part of the party, know what is happening, don't be a follow follow. And those in the Republican Party, be part of the party, know what is happening there. If there are anything that is not good for your people
Hmm.
in both parties, now for both parties, put it on the table, say no, 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 no. Don't be a follow follow, just going there to vote. Make an impact. Have a say in what happens in the both political parties.
Right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your input, your sound advice, and all the work that you do for all people, for Black people, and especially also for women. I think it's always so refreshing when we have allies amongst ourselves, and we have people who reach back and pull up without feeling like uh, it puts out their candle. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I really appreciate all the work you do,
thank,
Phil-
thank you very
Princess
much.
Philomena. I think a gem and a gift, and I am grateful to share this moment with you. So thank you very much. I
Thank you.
sincerely appreciate it. And for all of those who chimed in or will chime in later, thank you very much. I appreciate your patronage. Make sure you leave a like and or a follow, or all of it. It's free. Thank you again for joining me for this edition of EPA Live. I'm Jeanette Lenoir with ePluribus America, and this is Our American Culture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I just ended it. Thank you. That was great. We